Hello and welcome to episode 158 of the Podiatry Business Podcast. So today's title is How to Break Free from the Treatment Room. So typically I will talk to podiatry clinic owners worldwide and they will have a few issues, typical issues that are common. One is that they're tied to the clinic. Second is that they haven't got, their marketing isn't giving them enough patients coming in the door, also that their profit at the end of the year isn't enough. And in many cases, what they've done is they've got themselves to the point where they are having to treat patients a significant number of hours a week because the business is so heavily reliant on them. And what I want to talk about is some of the things you should consider if you're trying to break free from the treatment room. Now, I do get that many people watching this on YouTube or listening to this on a podcast, they love what they do. They love treating patients, and that's cool. I have no problem with that, and I'm not suggesting that you do zero if that's not what you want to do. I still go in and I do maybe a half a day a week because I like it. I like going in and talking to patients. I like going in and talking to my staff, etc. So I'm not suggesting you do zero. But what you do not want to have is a business that is entirely reliant on you and that you are trapped in that business. And what we find is that we end up with the super clinician trap. Now, the super clinician trap is where essentially you are the best clinician and you have to be the one that they all want to see. They ring, they're looking for you, etc., etc. And it's actually hurting your profits when you're doing that. Because what's going to happen is, as a result of that, is patients are not going to go and see your other staff members. You're going to have a waiting list while your staff are not able, or diary isn't necessarily full. And also because your diary is full and because you're so busy treating patients all of the time, you're not able to spend time running the business. Whereas what you really need to be doing is working on the business instead of in the business, or at least part of the week. There is a cost, there's a hidden cost for you being present for every patient. So what will happen is the clinic owner will, let's imagine you're working 5 days a week. They'll think, if I take a day off from treating patients, I'm going to lose that income. Yes, you might lose that income in the short term, as in you're not treating patients to generate, but in the long term, in the medium term and the long term, it's actually costing you more money for you to be working treating patients all of the time. And if it's done correctly, and that's how we do it with our clients, it shouldn't cost you any money even from day one. It should allow you to scale your profit, scale your business. And you need to remember that you are replaceable. The graveyards are full of replaceable or non-replaceable people, or irreplaceable people, I should say. Everyone is replaceable. So as a result, replace yourself. There's nothing better than I like going into the clinic and patients sitting in the waiting room looking at me, wondering who I am, while they're still getting fantastic treatment from my team. I have a fantastic team of podiatrists who are more than capable of doing the work that I can do clinically. And I have removed myself from the super clinician trap. Yes, you will still get people who ring up and say, I only want to see Lorcan, etc. But we have a way around that to make sure that that's not what's going to happen, because literally my diary is not available in that way. And part of it is, well, you're going to be saying, okay, Lorcan, well, I need to recruit. Now, I'm not going to deal with recruitment here in detail. I have other podcasts done on that, but recruitment is marketing. That's what it comes down to. You're trying to sell your job and your business, your clinic, to other clinicians, and that comes down to marketing. So if you're using clever marketing, recruitment becomes a lot easier. Retention, keeping those people once they've taken the job, is culture. And if you don't have a good enough culture, you're going to find that you're going to get a revolving door of people coming in and out all of the time. So that's the first thing. Don't get yourself into the super clinician trap. Or if you're in it, start to think, well, how am I going to get out of that? Now, once you've done that, then there are 5 main levers that you can pull to make more profit in your business. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing it for. You're doing it. Let's not kid ourselves, right? Yeah, you're there to help your patients. Of course you are. But you're also doing it to make a profit. Otherwise, just go and get a job, right? You still have patients. You don't have the stress, the hassle of running your own business. So there's 5 levers you can pull. And those levers are leads, conversions of leads, and conversion of patients into ongoing plan of care. Average spend per appointment, so how much you actually charge per appointment, or how much you're actually getting people to spend per appointment. average number of appointments per patient over time, and your costs and your profits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a real life example of this. Okay, so what we have is we have number of leads. So if you're listening to this in the podcast, you'll have to maybe imagine this, because I'm actually drawing this, and if you're watching it on YouTube, you're going to get to see it. So you got leads, you got conversions, you have conversion percentage, you have average transaction value, you have average number of transactions or average number of appointments, and then you have your costs over your profit, so your percentage. Okay, so if we imagine we have 100 leads, and what we're doing is we're getting 20% of them to convert, so we got a 20% conversion rate, and in this case, average transaction is going to be 50 quid. We're going to charge $50, whatever your currency is, and they're coming an average of 4 times, and we have a 20% conversion rate. So if we multiply all that together, we end up with a profit of $800, pounds, whatever you want to have it. Now, if we increase that by 25%, each of those numbers by 25%, which is absolutely doable, you'll end up with 125 leads, 25% conversion rate, a 62.5 spend per appointment. You're having 5 appointments on average, and you're having a 25% profit margin. What that does is it actually gives you a profit of 1,953, or a 44% increase in your profits. So you can see, if you're able to pull all of those levers together at the same time by 25%, you're going to increase your profits by 244%. Now, I know you're saying to me, well, how am I going to do that? And that's not the point of this necessarily. It's showing you that there are 5 main levers that you as the owner need to consider that you can pull to allow you to start to break free from the treatment room, because it gives you more profit, because what profit does is it allows you to buy back time, and that's what you're missing. Now, you may not pull them all at the same time, you may not pull them all at the same amount, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to explain. The next thing you need to consider is you need to have a leadership shift. You need to move your mindset from one where you are the practitioner, you are the podiatrist, to one where you are a business owner. So when people say to you, what do you do for a living? Instead of saying, I am a podiatrist, you say, I am the owner of a podiatry clinic. And it's a subtle change, but what it means is you start to look on it as a business, and your mindset is, well, I'm here to make it run as a business. I'm not necessarily here to just treat patients first. And what you'll have to do is, as part of that, is you create systems that don't require your constant presence, that you're not having to be there to do everything and to firefight all of the time. You're making sure that you're training your staff to act and operate independently, that they feel empowered to do so, empowered to make those decisions. And even if they do make mistakes, even if they do fuck it up, that you're not necessarily going to lose the head, because that's the alternative, is that you do everything. You do everything. And if you do everything and you say, well, I'll just do it myself, then what's going to happen is you're going to be continually tied to that business. You also need to learn how to say no as part of that mindset. For example, that I'm not going to squeeze that extra patient in when the receptionist asks me, that I'm not going to work late, that I'm not going to work over lunch, that I'm only going to work 3 days a week. And that in particular, as part of this, of getting your staff to work independently, is you're not going to take on the jobs that others should be doing. So typically, if you're finding that you're saying to yourself, it's quicker if I do it myself than teach them, well, then you're in that trap, and you need to get out of that trap. So that's leadership. You need to have a leadership shift from that you are a practitioner to you are a business owner. Then what we have is technology and automation. And essentially what you want to try and do is, well, what essential tools can I put into my practice that will allow me to automate what's happening in the business? And therefore, as I scale, there's not going to be the bottlenecks of the human being in the way. So that might be using AI SMS, AI follow-up, email follow-up, whatever it happens to be. An example of that in my clinic that is a little less techie is we have a onboarding that is completely automated. So when we get a new staff member on, we simply plug their email into a form, and they get an entire training sent to them on everything they need to know about starting in my clinic, from how you turn on the sterilizer to how we use Clinico, how you use Clinico, how you rebook a patient, what the phone number is, what uniform is, etc. all automated. It means I don't have to be there every single time to do it. And what you want to be doing is setting up these systems and using technology to help you to do this. So you can set up systems for 24-hour appointment reminders, for booking, for payments. In my clinic, in my clients' clinics, patients are booking in 24/7, literally through the night. Yes, they are up in the middle of the night searching for a solution and booking in and paying us in advance. Lastly, what tech can do is it can allow you to replace skills. So an example of this would be laser. So we use class 4 laser, supplied to us by Apex Podiatry lasers. And what it does is it means that we're able to treat verruca, we're able to treat fungal nail, we're able to treat musculoskeletal issues with the laser. That means that we can get a less experienced clinician to still give good outcomes by using the technology. Rather than simply their experience, which they're not going to have because they have to have time to get experience. So use tech to replace the skill set that you have to provide at the moment. You can also use tech to set up an automated patient attraction and conversion system. So you have a constant flow of patients coming into your clinic being converted for you. I've dealt with marketing extensively in this podcast. So it is possible to free yourself from the treatment room, to break free from it. If you're listening to this podcast because you feel that you're trapped by your business, well, then there are things you can certainly do. Some things you can do immediately, you can do this week is, in order, I would tell you to sit down first with a pen and paper, old style, and work out what does your perfect life look like. How many days a week do you work? What kind of patients do you see? Where do you live? How many holidays do you go on? How much money do you need? What kind of car do you drive? Work that out first. Then what you'll do is you should then think about, well, how am I going to redesign my business model to help me deliver this? I'll give an example. I had a client come to me maybe a year, maybe more ago, and this client had 4 clinics, I think it was, and they were working a lot of hours and they had a lot of staff and they were going between all the clinics and they felt stressed out. And what they wanted to do really is they wanted to only work 3 mornings a week on their own with no staff. So they came to me and asked me, can you help me to close all the clinics and let all the staff go? And in fact, what we ended up doing is we ended up selling all the clinics to the staff, and they were able to change their personal business model. So they ended up being very, very niche in podiatry and being high ticket and only working the kind of hours that they wanted. And they were making as much money doing that as they were running 4 clinics. Now, I know that's not for everyone. Likewise, a lot of people want to have multiple clinics, which is cool. But the first thing you do is you figure out what was their perfect life. So they came to me and said, this is the kind of lifestyle I want to live. How do we do it? And we redesigned radically, in that case, their business model to deliver that lifestyle. That's just a podiatrist, just like you are right now. You can put up your prices. You can automate patient attraction system. You can just decide that you're only going to mentor your team, that you're not going to do clinical work, which is kind of what I do. I maybe work a half a day a week when I want to. Or you might say, look, I'm only going to work a 3-day a week like that person I talked to. So it is possible to do that, but first you got to figure out what actually you're trying to achieve, because if you don't have a destination, then when you set out on that journey, you don't know if you're going to reach that destination if you haven't set it into your sat nav to begin with, as they say. So I hope that helps. If you want help designing this, if you want help rebuilding your business, if you want help breaking free from the treatment room of well, then this is what we do in our coaching service. I would be delighted to have a chat with you. All you got to do is go to morepracticeprofits.com, book a 5-minute triage call. It's just a quick phone call. It's not a sales call with one of my team, and we'll have a chat and see if we think we can help. And if we can, we'll talk about what our next steps are. So until next time, this is Lorcan O'Donaile, podiatrist, podiatry business mentor and owner of Podiatry Patients on Tap.